Welcome to our inaugural episode of What If Wednesdays. I am your host, Menhal Yunus, and joining me today are some very special guests. Brian Yan, our Tech Trek analyst, Jermaine Watson, our main host from Trekker's Delight. Of course, the show is under the umbrella of Trekker's Delight. And Marie Brownhill, also another host of another show that is under the umbrella, Fight the Patriarchy. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome to the show. I just want to remind the audience to, of course, remember to check us out on YouTube, on Anchor, on Spotify. Check out our Facebook show. Check out our Twitter feed, our new Discord. And I just want to let the host say hello. Brandon, how are you today?
Pretty good. Been a busy morning, but things are going pretty smooth so far.
That's great. Jermaine?
Live long and prosper, everyone.
Yes. Marie?
Peace and long life.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for what I want to hear from like a Star Trek family. So great to see you guys. Thanks for making it today. I know that it was like a bit like just to kind of get everyone to gel, and it's the first episode of this thing, so I just want to make sure that like we all, and it will, I'm sure, morph and change as we move along. So now that I've welcomed these guests, I just want to introduce the format for today. Basically an overview of today's show. It comes from the idea that there are many pivotal moments in Star Trek that are essential to the unfolding of the greater Star Trek universe we know and love. These types of moments could have had an enormous repercussion had they not gone the way that they had in the show's actual canon. So you think you know what happened in Star Trek, do you? You think you know the events, the canon, the way people interacted, the lives of the crew, and the way events turned out? Well, stay tuned as we explore things that will turn what you know upside down and inside out. Welcome to Star Trek What If. Thank you for joining us today. So the way today's show will go, guys, is that we'll do sort of like a speed round where I introduce a random what if question from the canon of Star Trek, and I will get your first gestalt reaction, your initial reaction. Mary's going to make fun of me. She's going to make fun of me.
I'm 100% a fan of the fact that you know both gestalt as a term and the correct pronunciation thereof, but like also, I'm still working my way through coffee, so don't expect gestalt.
I'm sorry.
From me.
No, it's okay. I just want that initial impression from your minds. We all, I think, have, as Star Trek fans, like an initial flex. When we think about the canon, we think about an episode, there's a way that it sort of reverberates inside of us. Like, we all have memories attached to those feelings and meanings. And really, not to say that we don't want to mess with canon or whatever, but it's like an old faithful, it's an old reliable thing to know, like how a Star Trek episode is going to start, go, and finish. And so when we propose these ideas, it's almost salacious in a way. It's messing with the formula, the format of what they have. So I'll give you a sequence that I'll point to one of you and then change the sequence between each round, where I give you 60 to 120 seconds to give me your initial reaction to a change in the canon of a Star Trek episode that may change the universe in a profound, small, subtle, or gross ways, depending on how you see it. So I will give you that 1 to 2 minutes. Everyone will respond with their opinion. They'll opine and give us their first reaction. And then I'll throw to you to respond to each other. And then I'll shift the conversation, ending with our golden question at the end of today's episode. Does that sound okay, guys?
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely. But you're going to have to make yourself a sign with the golden question.
I should. I didn't even think of that.
You are. It's going to be like, golden question time.
I should. Okay, so our first question.
We'll have William spin it around on the screen when it comes out.
So many good questions. Yes. Thank you. Oh, sweet. That's awesome. My first question actually was the very first question that was dropped, like in the thing when we were first all talking about it. And I don't think even Brandon wrote this down. We were just discussing it. He just said it, and it blew my mind. So I'm going to throw to this very first question. Okay. Worf's brother, Kern, who was
I'm
it?
glad you
Played by.
specified because I was gonna be like Nikolai, Kern.
That's right.
I mean, Worf's kind
Nikolai.
of like Spock with the magic appearing brothers.
Everyone forgets about Nikolai. Everyone forgets about Nikolai.
Because it was a terrible episode.
I guess I liked the fact that he had a family, and I had an auntie that looked just like his mama. So, like Spiffett, like
No. His parents are great, right? Like his parents are great. My problem is Nikolai because Nikolai has not only gone native, like which is a technical term actually, when you've adopted the culture that you're studying or interacting with, but like he somehow manages not only to go native, but like to get hooked up with a lady without being completely honest about who he is. Yeah, it's sketchballs.
It's true.
Sketchballs.
No, it's very true.
But also, I don't want to derail this. So
no, it's cool. I liked it actually. So if Kern's brother, we'll start with you, Marie. If Kern's brother,
Worf's brother.
Worf's brother Kern.
Worf's brother
Tony
Kern,
Todd
had never had his memory wiped, what would the repercussions be to the Star Trek universe?
Oh,
and this is Brandon. The very first thing.
But he's still okay. So as part of that, is he still faking being part of that other family?
No.
So okay. So basically, that whole section doesn't happen, and Kern and Worf are still House of Moch. Whoa, that's an interesting thought.
Such an interesting question. That's why I want the initial impression. You can pass. It's fine.
Because you know, so much wouldn't have happened the way it did. I mean, Worf would never have been adopted into House Martok because Kern would have lost his mind after he fought so hard to get, you know, the House of Moch additional, you know, like get it standing back. It would certainly have changed how the power structure in the Klingon Empire worked, right? Like I think Gowron would have died the same way. I do. Because Gowron was kind of unraveling throughout the course of Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
But I don't know that Worf and Martok would have had the working relationship that they do, and I don't think that Worf would ultimately have become an ambassador of the Klingon Empire because he would have been part of the Klingon Empire. I see him leaving Starfleet.
Okay. Jermaine, your impressions. Nothing. It's okay.
No, like I'm working on the golden question.
No, it's fine. It's all good. No. Let's roll to Brandon.
No, one more time. What's the question?
Worf's brother Kern, not Nikolai. Worf's brother Kern, the other Klingon brother that he had. If his memory had never been wiped at that DS9 episode when they tried to, what would the repercussions be to the Star Trek canon?
I think disaster. Not for the Star Trek canon. I think in that moment, there would have been lots of disaster. Remember, he's a Klingon, right? So his first initial thoughts is just to wreck shit up. Like, come on, let's tear a house. And
this also needs to be timed, like right there. Like,
what happened?
Wreck shit up.
What did you say?
He's just gonna wreck shit up. Like, I feel like that needs to be signed.
Not like for real. Like I'm being very, very, very honest. Like their go-to is to fight, and then they'll ask questions later. They'll try to figure things out just a little later. I'm probably oversimplifying the situation, but I think in general that would be, you know, probably what would happen for Kern.
Fair enough. Brandon.
I have so many thoughts about this. The first one being, I agree with Marie. I don't think that Worf would have ever become part of the House of Martok. I don't think that would have occurred, at least in the way it did. However, I disagree with Jermaine in the whole wreck shit up side of things. I think somehow Worf would have found a way for him and his brother to live the way that they're supposed to until the events requiring their intercedence in the Klingon Empire would have occurred. So I think a lot of the same story would have happened, But Kern's life would be significantly different. He would have had to adapt to a whole different series of societies, a whole different series of learning. Or I'm going to throw back to season 4, episode 1, where maybe Kern goes off and joins the Nabarite Alliance, which is what Worf was going to do. What if he just takes a step outside of it? He can't be part of the Klingon Empire. He doesn't want to be Starfleet. He doesn't want to be a Bajoran security officer. So what else would he have done? There's not really a place for him on the station permanently. But I never understood the reason for his memory to be wiped except to supposedly keep his honor, which it's all about a paradigm shift, at least in my opinion. And if his paradigm would have shifted enough just to accepting the situation and knowing that he could come back and help Worf at a later time to regain the family honor, which was always Worf's end goal. If he would have just accepted that that's going to be the future at some point instead of wanting it now, just be patient, I think things would have worked out in the end for the family.
Marie.
I think you're sort of fundamentally misunderstanding Kern, because I don't think Kern could do what you're asking of him in that particular situation, because the mind wipe isn't about honor. The mind wipe is fundamentally because Kern can't adapt. Because he could have joined that alliance. He could have left the Empire. He could have, come in and, joined the Federation. He could have done all kinds of things. The point is that Kern is a Klingon who needs to be a Klingon. And he can't do that any other way. He doesn't know any other way. So effectively what Worf does is he cuts him loose. And wiping his memory of being Worf's brother, being part of the House of Mook, experiencing all that dishonor, basically lets Kern be the Klingon that he's happiest being.
True.
I would intercede only by saying that the one pivotal moment that I would see is that if Worf was having that meeting with Gowron right before I had that conversation
where he stabs Gowron.
Yes.
Okay.
Right before, when he's with Ezri, and she has that amazingly profound thing about the Klingon Empire. She's like, it's been going downhill for hundreds of years. She's like, you're the most honorable Klingon I've ever met, and even you are willing to tolerate this. I think Kern would have been Worf's conscience. He would have also been like that for him, and that would have, if he'd been at that meeting, it may have been Kern who stood up to Gowron.
That's actually a really good point, because Kern never liked Gowron. Kern never did. He did not want to support him in the Civil War. He didn't want to do it. He absolutely despised him. He thought he was a politician through and through, which he was.
Yeah.
So, you know what, Manny? I agree with that side of
it. Jermaine?
So many options.
I'm following where everyone is going, and it all makes sense. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Because I want to keep it moving. What if, and again, this is coming to us from Jermaine. What if Earth's first contact was made with Klingons instead of Vulcans? How would that have impacted Earth's relationship with aliens in space? I will throw to Jermaine first on this, because I'm very interested in why he asked this question. It's seemingly very profound.
He took us back to Broken Bow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. First, let me just get into the question. So I firmly believe that even though, humans and Vulcans had a rocky start, I think that Vulcans were very pivotal in the way in which humans interacted with their whole idea of space. So likewise, if Klingons had been the first race that humans had gotten in touch with, think about what happened, right? There was this farmer in Oklahoma who had to shoot a Klingon, right? So from his perspective, number one, just look at how, the Klingon looked. Then, he was doing all kinds of sorts of things, like, oh my God, like, whoa, what's happening, right? Nefarious couldn't communicate with each other, and so from the perspective of someone who is meeting an alien in that way,
Mm-hmm.
um, to the point where he had to shoot him, like the ripple effects of how we would interact with interstellar space travel, even other aliens. I think that humans would have become much more militaristic. In nature, we would have been racing to get in space. No one would have stopped us. There wouldn't Vulcan High Command would no. We're going in space. We're ready to fight, right? So our our ships wouldn't be about scientific exploration. It would be about conquering and destroying.
I'll throw to Brandon next.
That's actually a fantastic concept that I never considered. So, hats off to you for out of the box thinking. Um, I agree. I don't think we would have changed a lot of the scientific side of things, but it would have drastically been reduced in favor of ships like what we saw in Axanar, the Ares, and things like that. But I think that kind of stuff would have happened way earlier. The Warp 5 system would have been pushed and rushed and driven to be something more, producive. I bet by Archer's time, we'd be sitting at Warp 7 instead of Warp 5. I think
Mm.
technology, because when the first contact happened with the Vulcans in 2063, we had just come through a world war. Humanity was in dire straits, but we had military. Where did World War end? It ended with military. There was military everywhere. There was weapons of mass destruction. There was a serious height of technology at that point. Even though a lot of the planet was destroyed, if we would have encountered Klingons at that point, we basically would have been on the verge of being wiped out yet again. But humanity is able to do one thing, and that's come back over and over and over again. We would have fought to our dying breath, and I think we would have succeeded in driving back the Empire back into their territory, because our nature is full on, you fight me, I'll fight you back. And I think we would have gone there. I don't know
I
if we would
will.
have ever defeated him, but we would have driven him out of our system.
Let's see what Marie has to say about this.
I don't think that's possible, really. Basically, if the Klingons had stumbled on us and decided to blow us to Kingdom Come, at that particular point, then yes, we would have been wiped out, and we would have been basically set up to be a subsidiary race for the Klingon Empire, which we know have to exist, by the way, right? Like, because it's an empire.
Mm-hmm.
By definition, there have to be other parts of this empire that we've never seen, and it's not just a question of like Klingon colonization. I mean, there have to be other like subsidiary races or species. Pick your term. I don't think that even this whole concept of like, we come back, we do whatever. I think more along the lines of we're like space orcs. Have y'all ever seen it floats around social media periodically, but there's this whole random thing where like the Klingons and the Vulcans are talking and they're trying to figure out like what's going on with humans, and how like humans were like, we need an extra warp engine so we can plug it into our warp engine so we can go twice as fast.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's so crazy.
Yeah, right. And then like there's later on you get all the way down and there's just this observation that there is a word in Vulcan when they discover what the word fuck is for, which I literally think is my favorite line in that entire beautifully written piece. But we're space orcs, and there weren't enough people. I mean, you talk about it ending with military. The point of the conclusion of World War III is actually that we were on the verge of self-annihilation. So there are no powers, right? And First Contact makes that very clear, that essentially what you have is this kind of Cormac McCarthy post-apocalyptic world where no central power exists, and everybody is more or less just like stealing things from other people in order to survive. So like this is less like we end up with a military state and more like the end of a zombie apocalypse. And the thing about that is like the survivors of the zombie apocalypse are not in a situation to repel a technologically superior force. Like that's just not how that works. We don't even have weapons that would have been effective. We wouldn't have known where to shoot the Klingon, because that's kind of the point of Broken Bow, right? Like the farmer does this completely by, I mean, it's lethal completely by accident, or almost lethal completely by accident, because we don't know anything about that alien biology. This is well before we got to the point of like the two penis jokes that float around the internet these days. So I just don't know how that would work.
Can I throw to Jermaine? I just want his rebuttal.
Well, I think because of World War III, and the Vulcans arriving when they did, I think that was in and of itself a catalyst to get all of humanity together working in the same vein. Likewise, I think that if an outside species from some unknown world were to arrive and you have definitive proof, right, his body, that there's this unknown species on your planet, and whoops, guess what? They could take over your planet at any given time. I think that would have galvanized the entire human race behind one concept. We're all in this together to defeat this one thing.
And that goes kind of, but again, defenders from a surprise attack almost never succeed. Almost never. Simply because they can't sufficiently rally in order to catch up, tactically, speaking of force, that kind of thing. So
fortune favors the bold.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a bloodier, less nice version of that. But yeah, so I just don't, again, I don't see it. I see, yes, it could possibly have galvanized us as a species to stand up for ourselves, and we would have either ended up annihilated, or enslaved. Like, those are the options. Now, post-enslavement, I totally see a resistance being mounted, and I totally see us sort of like tracking the Bajorans and then maybe reaching out to the Vulcans. Who knows? I mean, that's where things start to spiral.
Yeah.
Brandon.
I totally see Marie's point, and I agree fully, and I it would take a significant amount of time, but I could see us reclaiming our planet and reclaiming our solar system. Now, would it be with the help of the Vulcans? Would it be help of the Orions? Would it be with the help of the Romulans of the day? I think we would actually ally more with the Romulans against the Klingons at that time, if that were to happen, if we needed that, because we are a race built on sneaking and subterfuge and being devious to defeat those around us. That's why the War of 1812 succeeded against between the Americans and the British. We didn't line up face to face and fire guns like they did. We hid behind trees and rocks and sneak attacks and stuff. So I can see us actually allying with the Romulans to retake our area, and that would be a complete transformation of the Star Trek universe.
Why would the Romulans have accepted us?
Well, I'm just saying, because if anybody would, they'd understand our plight.
Seriously, like why would the Romulans accept us? Like that doesn't exactly.
They probably wouldn't, but I mean, I don't think we would ever accomplish it on our own. We would have to have help from somewhere. But the Vulcans would be too placative to even try. So I don't see us getting help from them.
I don't know about that.
So hold up, wait a minute. Wait, so I was gonna be really, really quiet. I was just gonna let it go. So like we've seen the mirror universe, right? So we saw the Terrans shot, right? And Terrans basically dominated all of those. Like I really don't. So anyway, I'm sorry. So the opposite of the Federation would be the mirror universe. And so what we saw from the mirror universe is it is very possible that we just don't know how those Terrans got to be the Terrans, right?
Except we do. We 100% do.
Well, hold on. Wait, my point is this. My original point was that I could definitely see how humans would have been much more militaristic, right? That was my original point. To the point where, like, yes, I can see them going out to the Klingons and trying to, I don't know, take over territory, right? It was really just about, hey, we're going to go into space and we're going to take over territory so that we can defend ourselves, meaning Earth, right? And so, in order to defend ourselves, that means that you've got to be militaristic, which means that at some point you got to prove yourself. You've got to pick a fight with somebody so that you can prove yourself, which means that eventually you are going to go to war with someone, right? The obvious group would have been the Klingons at that particular point. Now, I do understand where I don't remember who said what about the Romulans. To me, it would have made more sense that it would have been the Romulans, not the Orions, not even the Vulcans. I could see the Vulcans just being like, we ain't got nothing to do with this. What? Leave us
Mm,
alone. Um,
mm.
so that's why I was just like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna back out and I'm gonna
No, no,
my
don't ever
my
apologize.
my,
We know exactly what happened. We know exactly how the Terran Empire became the Terran Empire. Like previously, we had a whole situation where we were having parallel scientific development, right? That's kind of the general sense that we get from that particular episode of Enterprise, until until Hoshi Sato and Jonathan Archer and all of them stumble upon a Constitution class starship, and then basically killed each other trying to take control of it. Hoshi gets it,
Right.
sweeps in, and suddenly the Terran Empire has a huge technological advantage over literally everyone else in the sector.
Yep.
Possibly
That
the
was
Clock.
ship from 100 years in the future. Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna just jump in with like 2 points. One, to actually, I was going to similarly say to Jermaine that we know that in the mirror universe, one of the consequences of first contact going badly is the mirror universe. Um, and the second thing that I was going to point out was that if we had encountered Klingons first, there would have been a host of other things that didn't happen. If by the Vulcans finding us, they held us back 100 years or whatever, and so we were ready to sort of join the rest of the universe. But at that time, the Klingons weren't the Klingons. There's a great episode in Enterprise where he's on trial, Archer's on trial, and he's saying, he talks to his lawyer, and he's like, we're becoming more and more militaristic. We're less likely to be professors and lawyers, and there are regular Klingons everywhere and stuff like that. So they're kind of moving towards that, and this is 150 years before these like events. So even in that time, the Klingons may not have been as militaristic. There's also a point, and this is the second point I'm going to make, when Worf is talking about Gowron and not seceding from the Cardassian territories that he took. He's like, if my people have gone to the old ways, they will put in an imperial overseer and just take over. And I think that would have been the natural consequence. They would have just had as you said, like someone would have just taken over. They would have enslaved humanity. But humans at that time, I think, unlike a lot of other species, they are like a hodgepodge of all these other species. Even the Vulcans said it once. Ambassador Saval said, he's like, humans confound us. They confound us. We don't know what to do with you. At one point, you seemingly are erratic, and then you embrace logic. Like, we don't understand. And he said it, he's like, in 100 years, you overcame all your wars. Many of us are wondering what you'll do in the next 100. I think human beings were poised for this like wonderful potential at that time. Brandon said it, Marie said it, and Jermaine said it. You all took a different tack. So as a response to like what I said, I just wanted to like throw that out there.
And this, of course, also presupposes that the Klingons find anything useful about humans and Earth. I mean, it's entirely possible that they look down and they're like, hey, it's a bunch of bumpkins. Yeah, peace.
Like that episode where the Enterprise crew defends that planet from like a dilithium mine and teaches them like Vulcan Kung Fu. So that they like 6 Klingons like come down to, anyway. So any parting thoughts with that idea, guys?
No, I think Marie's onto something, because Earth itself What did we have to offer if we were to be
Useless.
engaged by the Klingons? Nothing. We'd have metallurgy. Okay.
Wait, wait.
No, we would be offering
Wait.
them bronzed swords when
No.
they're over here with AK-47s, right? Like, I mean,
They
they're
still
just
need to eat. They still need to eat. You know what I'm
and they're
saying?
clearly handling that on their own.
But they
And also
eat.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But
Time,
look, that's the
they
whole
could-
point of an empire. An empire is really trying to colonize so that they can get access to resources. What resources do we have? I mean, you know what I'm saying? We are plentiful in natural resources. That's what they
but
need.
we're also that's presupposing that there are natural resources that are useful to Klingons. And when we're dealing with a species that's evolved in a completely different environment, so different that it's literally another planet, there's nothing that guarantees that we're going to have a certain commonality of resource, technological direction.
That's right.
I'm
And
not even
because we don't
necessarily
know,
sure that we
because
can
and
say-
because we don't know, we can't say no. We can't say no. This
That's
can't
true.
happen.
I mean,
Again,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
why
but
this is
again,
what
I'm
if.
tossing it out, right? Like, I'm tossing it out. Like, would the Klingons have found like baby Earthers like useful? And I don't know the answer to that.
So, okay, I'm gonna just tie it back together. I have either room for like one more question. We're about 30 minutes in. I should jump right to the golden question. All right. So this is the last question that we're gonna ask. Okay, that's all right.
Wait. Do we have something for the golden
Do
question?
we have a graphic? Do we have something? Jermaine, do we have something? He's so talented. I didn't think of any of this.
I think Jermaine's gonna die. Like, hold on. Okay, breathe.
Wait.
I appreciate it.
Ask a quick question. Someone else's quick question. And what I forgot to do was I forgot to upload it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Brandon, did you see the newest episode of Discovery?
Yes.
Did you see yes? What did you overall think of that episode?
Honestly, I felt like it was a good wrap to the previous episode, and I feel like they did the best part of what we saw in Generations with the Marika. I love how you brought it out in Star Trek Generations, where Picard is just bawling 1 second out of nowhere, and then he's back on the bridge just fine. They did it right this time. I'm just going to put it that way. That was my overarching feeling. I think they focused on what they needed to. They hit the target. They actually had good writers. The acting was on par. They hit all aspect of everything. This was a great episode. I loved it.
I need Discovery to stop making me cry.
Yes, I read that.
Like, I need Discovery to stop making me cry because, like, you know, when Book has his realization and makes peace with things and begins his healing process, I was kind of a mess.
See, last time I cried for a Star Trek episode is when the Defiant got blown up.
Ooh.
I really think that says
Maybe I'm just cold-hearted.
Okay, I think that says all we need to know about Brandon and why he's on Tech Tuesdays because it's the
Little
Defiant. He's great.
Yeah, Dragon Jadzia died too, okay?
Yeah, that was shocking. That
Oh.
was
Cried at the Visitor. Voyager
Okay.
never made me... Well, okay, I cried on Voyager when Neelix left. When he left the show, I was in tears because he's one of my favorite characters. But anyway.
I mean, I really loved. I love Tarina. Like, if we're going to talk about that, and obviously this is looking forward to this week's Thursday review. But I loved Tarina, and I continue to love her.
I never got to weigh in on my Discovery because I didn't show up to this one, but I
didn't
think,
really talk about that episode, so
yeah, I felt like was it spoiler free or not spoiler free? I didn't know from watching.
we talked about the previous episode, so
has there been a third Discovery episode already?
Yeah.
Oh snap! I haven't seen that. Okay.
Right. So Manny's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No. Okay. So the second one was all that's where I'm up to. Okay, I gotta
watch
Okay,
it.
so
Okay,
our
yeah, the
bad.
third episode is amazing.
I'll watch it tonight.
That's why I tried to leave it vague. That's why I tried so hard to
Interesting.
leave it vague because it was so. I felt like they actually hit it. The first time, or Discovery's been getting better and better, but I feel like this is the episode where they actually went, "Hey, we have our stuff down finally.
Do you mean when you say that? Do you mean because I kind of think of Anomaly and Choose to Live almost as a two-parter. It's not really, but I kind of think of it that way.
Okay.
It almost feels like it, and I feel like this
La
was a
la la
really
la
good
la la.
wrap up. I feel like this was just a really good wrap up. Let's just put
Fair
it
enough.
that way.
All right. We now have a mandatory graphic. Jermaine
Yes,
has
yes.
produced something fantastic for us.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, I will ask my question. Thank you, Jermaine, for saving the day. Thank you for the golden question of the day. I love it. This is my question. What if the copy of the Doctor from the episode of the Voyager, the Doctor, from the episode Living Witness, the episode where he's found 700 years into the future, what if that version of the Doctor, that backup copy, reached the Alpha Quadrant in time to run into the crew of Discovery now as we know them in 3190? Because of the time frames, that was 700 years in that future. He spent about 100 years on that planet, and then to get back to the Delta Quadrant and so forth. I would love your initial thoughts on that. I'm going to throw to Brandon first.
I want to see that episode. That's what I want. I want to see that episode because while I rag on Discovery so much because I feel like it's been an abomination for many episodes, that would wrap it up in a nice, neat little bow for me and bring me back into okay, I can. This brings it home because I love the Doctor. I want to see it. I think it would be a fantastic way of both wrapping up that storyline, which we never got to see what happened, and bring Picardo back. I like him as an actor. I want Picardo back.
I'll throw to
show me the episode. That's my view.
Marie. You're next. Go ahead.
I feel like we already know what would happen. And the reason I say that is because literally we've got this character who is this computer program, effectively, who is driving through various, like the Delta Quadrant and experiencing and learning and all of those things. The sphere, y'all. Like, it may be that the sphere was actually what happened to the Doctor from Living Witness. So, I mean, all of that data, and, and eventually, right, like, his processor dies, and so, like...
Okay.
So he has all this information, and then he gives it to them, like, because I think that's core to who Starfleet wanted to be, and his core mission, which is give them all this information. Also, I really, like, this season, I would really like to see more about the sphere data, other than just, like, Zora popping up, because I think there's a lot of information, a lot of really cool stuff that they could do with that. But yeah, I really feel like this is entirely, we already know.
Interesting. Okay, Jermaine.
Marie, that was so very interesting. I think though that he probably would have been in addition to the spare data, because it doesn't, that data isn't that data like millennia of years old?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
that was the one thing I want to point out. Yes.
I'm just gonna spit calling. I mean,
no. Like I get it. Like, and that all makes sense because the Doctor would be able to give information on both the Alpha Quadrant and the now Delta Quadrant. So that would
quadrant.
Yeah. So that would be real interesting. I think well, in the way, outside of what Marie said, now my brain is like moving in the direction of Marie, but I'm trying to bring it back to what I was thinking.
He's like, I'm done staying in her head.
I was thinking that that the Doctor, like, even if he were like on the show for, I don't know, 3-4 episodes, he would be able to say, hey, this happened here, and this is what we did, and kind of add like some valuable tidbits, and also just kind of help some of them out in terms of what happened in the intervening years, because you don't hear a whole lot of them talking about what happened from their past, or their past, and I guess now the future. So he would be able to give them some valuable insight. That's where my
Brandon.
I'm you know what, I very much, I can see all aspects of that, and it leaves so much more to be explored, and I really hope, the what if for me here is What if we see him again? What if he actually shows up? He would feel at home. All the ships have holo technology everywhere. He'd be able to walk everywhere, go everywhere, do anything. He would still be behind the times, though. Think about it. He's in the past now because he's from Voyager's era. And even if he were to travel all that time, he's still built on Voyager's era platform. Yeah,
I mean, we're presupposing he wouldn't change, like that.
Exactly.
He would, like, update his own. I mean, I even wonder if he would have, created a body to inhabit. Since
synth.
I mean, correct.
Now we can put synths in.
A lot of that's floating around. Not that he would have had access to how.
To that kind of.
I mean, you've seen the end of Picard, right, Manny? Like, I can talk about this.
No, you can. No. I'm not that far behind. Come on now. Come on, buddy.
Right. I mean, that was 800. It's 800-year-old technology. So, if this rando over in the Alpha Quadrant can figure it out, my guess is.
Oh yeah.
My guess is actually that the Doctor could as well, and he's also got all the incentive in the world to build himself a body.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're gonna hit McCaffrey any moment now.
I agree. I can totally see that. And the funny thing is, I could actually see him integrating with the Discovery crew because he understands what it is to be left behind and yet brought forward and yet now be in the future. I think he would be a good addition to the show for a few episodes, maybe to actually be the ship's counselor to wrap up the season. Now, that would be cool.
Everyone's so ragging on
I could see everybody hating
I heard from even the previous episode.
I don't even know. I don't even know if we could do, if he would even could do that. Like, I don't know that he would have enough in common with these people to interact with them. I really don't, because he is going to have almost a millennia of experience. Right? And so, they're going to be children to him.
The problem is, he was in storage for 700 years.
Yeah.
So, he wasn't doing anything.
He's got all the journey, he's got all the whatever. He's going to have hundreds of years of experience.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and we already know that the Vulcans struggle, to interact with us, even in 3190.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Jermaine.
Wait. I'm sorry. I reacted so much. No. So I'm just like, I just don't know. I don't know if he could have. Well, first of all, you would have to explain his age. They could explain his age. Some future technology. Yada yada, all the other good stuff. But I don't think, when I think of the Doctor, I don't think of someone who is a counselor, right? I don't. I think of someone who's very brash, in your face, this is what it is, get to it. You know what I'm saying? So he couldn't counsel me. I'm sorry, he couldn't. That's just how I feel.
Also, Culber's killing it on that front.
True.
I agree with you, Marie. I think that he's doing an excellent job. I think we just don't see him as a counselor. And because we don't see him as a counselor, we don't respect, because we see him as a doctor, right? That's what we're used to. But no, he's doing both, in my opinion.
Okay. Wow. So what I would close with, or at least what my thoughts would have been, if they actually did this, and it would be a great crossover, would be that you could have the triumphant Doctor making it to the Alpha Quadrant. This would also bring together parts of the Federation. He would bring that TNG nostalgia, that Voyager nostalgia back. It would have a tie-in, as they try to bring the worlds together of the different kinds of Federation, and maybe remind them of who they are. I feel like they've lost a little bit of themselves. I remember saying at the beginning of Discovery how Tilly seemed a bit wooden, and I realize now that they're writing her that way on purpose. And the writing is going in that direction where they're becoming more complex and more complicated, and I get it now. I see it at the beginning of the thing. And so I think that bringing a character like that, bringing it back from Voyager, or even a DS9 thing, have Cisco appear, he can move through time, something crazy where you're actually bringing in an old favorite in this radically new context that we've never seen before. I think would be fascinating.
You do remember season 3 or was it season 2 with Spock?
Season 3 of what?
Of Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
They already brought an old favorite.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Went very badly.
You don't like Ethan Peck?
No, I do. I really, really do. I am so excited about Strange New Worlds. I can barely stand it.
Yeah,
Because
it's
Anson
so
Mount,
good.
Ethan Peck, Rebecca Romaine are going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet we're going to get like an amazing show out of them. And I'm like, please God, give me a release date. I am there. But I really want Discovery to do its own thing.
To have its own
like
legs,
I'm tired of this sort of like, let's bring something back from the past. Y'all, it's a big universe. And now we've got however many, like 900 years of like separation. I really feel like Discovery is now in a situation where it doesn't have to rely on nostalgia.
Fair, and I'm not saying it needs to rely on it. Again, like I thought maybe as a plot device it'd be cool, but I see what you mean. It could ruin the flavor of what they're doing. I understand what you mean. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I've said everything I think I can say.
Fair enough. Okay,
I think if they did it even for one episode, I think it would just be a good nod. I'd like it just to be a nod.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that I wouldn't be there, because I think it would be like really, really fun and kind of a great nod for older fans that have been, especially the 90s fans, right? But I just love that we're finally in a situation where disco isn't, because part of the problem, politics aside, part of the problem with Discovery was that it was written as a prequel. And they really sort of ran into issues having written themselves into canon that we already know. Right. And so that at the end of that, they couldn't come up with anything new to make that story interesting, because we already know what's going on there. And so the jump into the future was a way to fix that problem.
Yep.
I like Jermaine's point about we haven't really explored any of the intervening years, and I think that's because they're afraid to mess with that canon, to like talk about it.
Right, because I mean, this is also a great way to leave sort of like a giant gap, so that like other series can like fill in those gaps. And then Discovery is now so far in the future that it's
you can't touch anything. Yes, it's its own thing. It's far, far away, and they're exploring all new ways and aesthetics and technology, and no one's ever.
And we've broken the Federation, so we're not, we're not relying on all of that canon. Speaking of, where are the Tellarites? Where's Andor? Like, are they gonna join sometime soon?
They are strategically leaving out a lot. Like, as I've said before in a previous show, like, where are the other Federation ships? Like, there's a few of them who showed up, and I think Brandon noticed like a few here and there, and other crews who were like here and there, but like mostly we've just focused on an admiral talking to Discovery. So and then the president. Like, this is next level. That there's there's so few of them that it's appropriate. It's like a wartime president or whatever, and like on their actual ship, or they're just purposely not showing you these other parts because they're really afraid to like show you how the other parts of this machine work.
I also think some of it's a funding issue too. And truly, last season we did get an Andorian. Like, we got the brand new redesigned Andorian, and I think we're going to see a Ferengi at some point in this.
It's slowly. Yeah, I like when they just do it surreptitiously. It's not a
right.
It's just a flash,
But I just died there. My brain just died.
Seeing an Andorian, where the Tellarites.
Right. So, but also I think they're really trying to give us a sense of just how rough things are right now in the Federation.
Exactly.
I mean,
I think that's where
35 member, like I think it's 35 member worlds right now.
Okay, so that is it then.
And most of them are unable to achieve warp travel.
Yeah.
Like, we're still working on that part.
Discovery's going around and like
Discovery.
And, I just wanted to say, like, that's what I was thinking. Thank you, Marie, for saying it. It was just like, but they couldn't travel, so it's like they're bound at that point. Past season, the past season, they were bound to what was in and around where they were, and I think hopefully we're going to see more species this season.
And I think that's what Lyra Rilak is talking about when she is like, this is a key moment, like, we're working on this is this is a critical time, things are fragile, blah blah blah, because they are. They are.
I liked her bit about, like, she's profound now, and again, like the speech that she had, she's like, the swings of the pendulum. Like her job really is to manage people, expectations, experiences. She's just holding it all together. It's not
I'm
an easy
literally going
job.
to need you to catch up, Manny. I'm
Yeah,
going to need you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Still,
Everybody needs to catch up because
I personally think
it's a
she
good
is
show.
doing way too much as a Federation president. She's way too much into the weeds, in my opinion, to the point where the admiral was just kind of standing there. Like you could tell he had a certain feeling about certain things, and he couldn't express it because the Federation president was there, and I don't like micromanagers, so I don't like her.
Interesting. Interesting. No, you gotta go with how you feel.
I mean, I think I really get why she's very hands-on with the events in Shoes to Live, which we won't discuss, Manny.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I think I understand why. And
For anybody that's not caught up, catch up.
Right.
It's a good show. It's a good episode.
yeah,
well
it
worth
is.
watching.
It's really fantastic. But also I have seen heads of state do that, get really, really involved. And the other thing you're missing is this is high level stuff.
Right. It's out of
Right.
proportion how high level it is to
Right. I mean,
agree.
if
It
there are
is.
like 5 ships in the fleet,
If that's the case, I don't know. That's what I was
No,
asking
it has
you
to
guys.
be more. We saw more.
yeah, I
And,
know. I mean, there are more clearly.
No, I hear exaggerating.
But if they're
yes.
comparatively few captains, and
Yeah.
Burnham and the Discovery crew are kind of in a unique situation to literally everybody else. So, I mean, I can see how she would be more hands-on with that because Discovery's an asset, a huge asset, tactical, diplomatic. I mean, the whole
Lovely.
shebang.
Okay, well, I'm gonna sort of put a cap on this. Thank you, Marie. So I apologize again for cutting you off. If there are any parting thoughts, I will allow you to have like a little bit. Is there anything else that anyone would like to say about this?
off,
Manny's like, I've never
off
invited
topic.
you back.
Off
No,
topic.
it's-
I don't know how realistic 30 minutes is because no one has
We're
been
at-
able to have a 30 minutes.
It's
so.
true. No,
I
I
think
tried.
I think we're trying to pack. Maybe it's because we're trying to pack too much in per episode.
That's true.
Just
But
saying.
I gotta tell you, like, I was unaware that we were shooting for 30 minutes. I just sort of assumed we were going for an hour.
no, hey, 30 minutes it meant an hour. That's all right.
I mean,
No thoughts from me though.
right?
That's
I mean, it's
interesting.
like, seriously, it's like nerd time, guys. It's nerd time. Like,
Yeah,
I
you're
told
right.
you it's going to be 30 minutes, but that's not what I mean.
It was quite enjoyable. That was a very enjoyable conversation. I very much enjoyed that, guys.
And each one of these little tiny tidbits, there's so much more to explore. You know, I mean, just
Yeah,
there's hundreds of permutations. I love the whole multiverse theory because every single decision,
mm-hmm.
Kern's
Permutation.
memory not being wiped, the Doctor coming back, the different thoughts, the different concepts. There's hundreds of things that it could affect in the Star Trek universe,
Yeah.
and
This is what AO3 is for, guys.
exactly,
Yeah.
This is what AO3 is for.
Lovely.
it's a lot of fun to think about and imagine.
And I gotta tell you, there's some really fantastic content. Especially in the wake of the 2009 movie and on. Just a really lot of fantastic content on AO3, and I recommend that if you are interested in what if you're interested in exploring alternate universes and other types of relationships and whatever, I recommend you take a look at AO3 because there's a lot of really great active fan work going on there.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna just put a cap on that because I know that we're running a bit long, but it's out of like a good place. So I just remind our viewers, like, we tried to learn something today about like how we reflect on Star Trek, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. And please share with us what you thought the interesting parts of this topic was. Please make sure to join our Facebook group, Trekkers Delight, if you haven't already. Jermaine is the main host, of course, from that. Marie has a brand new show called Fight the Patriarch. I can't wait for that. Brandon, of course, will join me on Techno Trek Tuesdays, and hopefully keep filling us in with amazing stuff from the Star Trek technical world. Please join us on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube. We have a great Discord app. If you want to get involved or hit us up with any comments below, please let us know what you think and what you feel about this show. Stay tuned for next week. We'll have more discussions, more things to talk about. And I hope you guys all had a great time today.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll see you on Thursday for the big review show.
Inshallah, I'll go and
Absolutely.
watch the Discovery right now. I promise. I'll watch it.
Come on,
I'm
man.
sorry.
Come
I
on.
hate being the rate limiting step. I hate being the guy who hasn't seen. What are you guys talking about? I don't know. Okay. Thank you
Bye,
so much,
everybody.
everyone. I'll see you later. Take
To
care.
all our viewers,
Bye.
kapla.
Kapla.